After President Joe Biden's disastrous debate performance that led him to leaving the race, there was all this worry about whether Vice President Kamala Harris would make a strong presidential candidate. Those fears have proven to be unfounded. Harris completely owned the debate last night, which people who know her said she would do even before she stepped foot on the stage.
I think that she's going to find very deft ways of coming forward and reminding people of the chaos, of the kind of crassness, of the kind of person that he is, but do it in a way that doesn't take her into the mud where Donald Trump loves to go, but do it in a way that simply is straight with the American people and lets them to come to the conclusions that, to me, are very obvious.
Now, I will admit, as Senator Cory Booker was saying all this last night on this very network, I was sitting at the table, I was thinking, I'm not sure you want to pump the fist before the debate happens, but clearly he knew what he was talking about. Senator Cory Booker is a Democrat of New Jersey. He's a longtime friend and ally of Vice President Kamala Harris. They also both sat on the Senate Judiciary Committee together. You see them there, and he joins me now. Yeah, Senator, I would... You know, there's a weird thing that happens in the run-up to debates with this expectations games, you know, where people start to be like, oh, my opponent's the best debater and I am just a humble slob, and it's a little put on. But at the same time, both you and Gavin Newsom last night were like, she's so good. She's going to kill him. She's going to be so good. And I was thinking, boy, it's already a lot of pressure on her. But you're right. What'd you think?
I mean, it was simply awesome. I sat next to her for years in high-stakes judiciary hearings and watched how she rose to every single moment. Supreme Court Justice, Cabinet Secretary. You pitch to Kamala, she's going to knock it out of the park when it really counts. And we know the stakes were high for her going into it, but she is a gamer, and she really brought it last night. And she brought it, as I said, 2 nights ago, in a deft way. She found ways to bait him in and expose him raw before everybody who just looked, no matter who you are, Democrat or Republican, when you're talking about eating cats and dogs, you know, just let your opponent show his truth.
You know, the thing you said about her sort of, this is a high-stakes situation, she knocked it out of the park. What's been striking to me is I've interviewed the vice president a number of times in the same way that I've interviewed you. I don't know her very well, but she's always been incredibly formidable and impressive. But as a sort of character testament, I mean, the amount of pressure that she's been on her, just as a person and as a politician, and at each point that pressure she has had to respond to, navigate it, I just think speaks remarkably well to her ability to be a president, honestly, given that the job is a very pressure-packed job with really high stakes, and you really got to deliver in the moments that matter most.
Yeah, she really is a clutch player, and I think it does speak to her presidential capacities. Look, you talk to Kamala, and this is what I've loved about her throughout this campaign, is she's not making this about her. Donald Trump, it was all about him, his fragile ego. He couldn't resist trying to defend any attacks on that ego. For Kamala, it's about everybody else. And this is what I think I want people to really know about her right now, is she feels the urgency of the challenges before the American people. She feels very much the pain of people who are facing the stripping away of their reproductive rights. She feels an economy which many people don't think works for them anymore in America. These are issues that drive her. She is about serving this country and knows that this is a moment not to beat Donald Trump, but really where we need leaders, in the plural, to rise and meet it so that we as a nation can come together and move forward. And I'm really honored, really, to watch a friend rise to this moment and keep the spotlight where it needs to be on the American people.
We should note that she's going to do the first post-debate event in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, in Luzerne County, of course, key county in a key swing state. There's a bunch of, as we learned last night, 800,000 Polish Americans in the state of Pennsylvania. She was talking about Donald Trump sort of sucking up to Putin and what it might mean for the nation of Poland. What do you think of the foreign policy back and forth between them? Because, of course, she's the vice president of the United States, but, you know, it's hard to beat the experience, just particularly, I think, for voters who aren't in the weeds, of someone who has already been president.
Well, again, I think what she did last night was really important, because Republicans and Democrats, I'm talking about the Ronald Reagan Republicans who stood up to Russia, to the Kremlin, know how urgent the situation in Ukraine are. And know that it's not just about Ukraine. It's really about democracy in Europe. It's really about democracy writ large and the rule of law globally. She exposed Donald Trump for being on the extremes of the Republican Party, someone who would capitulate to Putin, who would surrender against this totalitarian aims of Putin, who thinks might makes right. And so that was very powerful. And it's a message to a lot of Americans. I know in New Jersey, we have a lot of Ukrainian and Polish Americans. In Pennsylvania and other key battleground states, there are a lot of folks whose ancestry goes back to those Eastern European countries who know about the horrors of totalitarian dictators and their ambitious territorial aims. And so again, she gave a master's class last night in showing how you let your opponent expose themselves before all the country and see things that many of us have forgotten, or he's found ways to hide. He got a chance to tell the truth about Donald Trump and let him often do the talking.